They call it the land of the eternal blue sky, a country so vast, so empty, that the horizon itself feels endless. But beneath this silence lies something most travelers never see, a culture shaped by survival, honor, and mysteries that have outlived empires. Mongolia is not just another travel destination. It's a world caught between the ancient and the modern, between the roaring echoes of Genghis Khan's empire and the quiet hum of a nation finding its place in the 21st century. But what if I told you? The Mongolia you imagine, the one of wide grasslands, nomads, and wild horses, hides stories that challenge everything you think you know? Stories of forgotten traditions, of strength born from isolation, of rituals that seem strange to outsiders, but sacred to those who live them. In this documentary, we'll go beyond the postcard image, into the heart of a land where temperatures can drop below 40 putter seeks, yet the people remain warm enough to share everything they have. We'll uncover how nomads survive with almost nothing, why hospitality is considered sacred, and how a single visit from a stranger can change a family's fortune. Or curse it. You'll discover how Mongolia's past never really ended. The spirit of Genghis Khan still rides through its deserts and mountains, not as a legend, but as a living force guiding the nation's identity. And while the modern world pushes closer, through smartphones, mining projects, and foreign investments, the old ways resist quietly, like whispers carried by the steppe winds. This is not the glossy travel brochure version of Mongolia. This is the hidden Mongolia, where ancient beliefs still decide the fate of herders, where the land itself feels alive, and where every ritual, every gesture, carries centuries of meaning. As the sun rises over the Gobi Desert, casting golden light on endless dunes, you'll realize something haunting. Here, time does not move forward. It circles, endlessly, like the wind. So prepare yourself, because in the next few minutes, you're not just traveling to Mongolia. You're stepping into a place where myths breathe, where the past walks beside you, and where the truth is far deeper and far older than anyone dares to tell. They call it Munk Kuch Tengri, the eternal blue sky. For Mongolians, it's more than a poetic phrase. It's sacred. The sky is not just weather, it's a divine protector, a living God that watches everything beneath it. Imagine a land where there are no fences, no boundaries, just open plains stretching to infinity. More than 260 days of sunlight each year. The clouds drift slowly, the winds hum through the grass, and even silence seems alive. But this beauty hides brutality. Winters are long and merciless, and temperatures plunge to 40 degrees. In the same land where the sun shines brightly, entire herds can freeze overnight. Yet somehow the people endure. They adapt. They don't fight the land. They become part of it. This eternal blue sky has shaped Mongolia's soul. It taught its people humility, patience, and strength. Every storm, every sunrise, every gust of wind reminds them of their bond with nature and of how fragile human life truly is beneath the heavens. To understand Mongolia, you must first understand this. Here, the sky rules all, and under its watch, nothing stays hidden forever. For thousands of years, Mongolians have moved, not by choice, but by nature's command. They are the last great nomads of our world. Families travel across endless grasslands, setting up felt tents called gyrs, their portable homes against the wild. Every season brings new challenges. When the grass fades, the animals must move. When the rivers freeze, humans follow the herd. Their life is an eternal cycle: migration, survival, adaptation. There are no walls, no permanent cities, only the rhythm of the wind and hooves. Each family depends on its animals: horses, yaks, sheep, camels. Without them, there is no food, no clothing, no future. Even their children learn to ride before they can walk. To outsiders, it seems impossible. But for Mongolians, motion is tradition. Stillness is death. Yet behind this freedom lies a quiet tension. The modern world is closing in. Younger generations drift toward Ulaanbaatar, searching for connection, electricity, and Wi-Fi. The ancient nomadic pulse weakens a little each year. But in the heart of the steppe, some still resist change, living as their ancestors did, under the same blue sky, following paths no map could ever define. Every nation has a founder. Mongolia has a conqueror who became a legend. Genghis Khan, born Temujin, began with nothing. No kingdom, no army, just a vision and a rage against betrayal. He united the feuding tribes of the steppe into one unstoppable force, then unleashed them upon the world. Under his command, the Mongol Empire grew to become the largest contiguous empire in history. From China to Europe, his riders brought both terror and order. They were said to appear like storms, sudden, silent, devastating. But behind the blood and battle, there was strategy. Genghis built a system based on loyalty, discipline, and intelligence. He respected merit more than birth. He punished corruption, rewarded courage, and valued knowledge, even from enemies. 8 centuries later, his presence still rules the Mongolian soul. His statue towers over the plains. His face is on every banknote. His name, whispered in reverence, still commands silence. To outsiders, he's a symbol of destruction. To Mongolians, he's a symbol of identity. The eternal shadow of the steppe, reminding every child that power is born not from wealth, but from will. The Mongolian steppe is breathtaking and brutal. It stretches endlessly, like a sea of grass under a sky too vast to comprehend. But beneath that beauty lies danger, the kind that tests the limits of human endurance. Temperatures swing violently. Summer days can scorch at 40 degrees, while winter nights drop to 40 degrees. Winds howl like unseen predators. There are no forests to hide in, no cities to shelter behind. Only open land, raw, unfiltered, and merciless. For outsiders, it's a landscape of silence. For Mongolians, it's alive, whispering, shifting, challenging. Every sound carries meaning. The cry of a hawk, the rustle of dry grass, the distant thunder of hooves. Survival here demands respect. The land rewards balance, not dominance. It teaches humility to all who walk upon it. Even the toughest warriors of the past bowed their heads to its moods. And yet, despite its cruelty, this land has given birth to one of the strongest cultures on earth. People shaped by cold winds, endless horizons, and the unbreakable belief that endurance is beauty. In Mongolia, every sunrise feels like a victory. Every sunset, a reminder that nature, not man, is the true master. In the heart of the steppe stands a simple, circular structure. The gyr. To outsiders, it looks like a tent. To Mongolians, it is the center of the universe. Every line, every rope, every direction holds meaning. The door always faces south, to greet the sun and welcome travelers. The roof opens toward the sky, connecting the family to the heavens above. At its heart burns the hearth, a living flame that represents life itself. It is never allowed to die. Inside, order rules. Men sit to the west, women to the east, guests and ancestors to the north, the most sacred side. Crossing the threshold without respect, or stepping over the hearth, is considered an offense against both home and spirit. But the Gur is more than architecture. It is philosophy made of wood and felt. It teaches balance, equality, and connection. Its circular shape has no corners, no hierarchy, only unity, a symbol that everyone beneath the eternal sky shares the same fate. Even today, in the age of skyscrapers and satellites, millions of Mongolians still return to this ancient form. Because the Gur isn't just shelter, it's identity, and within its walls, the spirit of Mongolia still breathes. His name still shakes the world. Genghis Khan. To some, a ruthless conqueror. To others, a divine leader chosen by the sky itself. But who was he really? Born as Temujin in the harsh wilderness, his early life was nothing like the legends. His father was poisoned by rivals. His tribe abandoned him. He hunted rats to survive, his hands freezing in the steppe winds. Yet, from this suffering rose a force the world had never seen. He united scattered clans under one banner, not through bloodlust, but through vision. Merit over birth, loyalty over lineage. To betray him was death, but to follow him meant glory. Under his rule, the Mongols created the largest contiguous empire in history, stretching from Korea to the heart of Europe. But every empire casts a shadow. Cities burned, millions perished. The price of unity was destruction. Still, Genghis Khan's laws brought order, trade, and even religious freedom long before Europe ever dreamed of such things. To this day, his face watches over Mongolia, carved into stone, printed on currency, whispered in prayer, because Genghis Khan was not just a man, he was a storm, and the world is still living in its aftermath. At its peak, the Mongol Empire was unstoppable, a civilization of horsemen who conquered more land in 25 years than Rome did in 400. From the coasts of China to the gates of Vienna, their banners ruled the winds. And then it was gone. No epic collapse, no final battle, just silence. How does the largest empire in human history simply vanish? The truth lies not in invasion, but in what the Mongols built: peace, trade, connection. Once they controlled the Silk Road, wealth poured in, and with it came comfort, corruption, division. The same unity that had forged their empire began to crack from within. Brothers turned on brothers. Generals became kings. The great Khans lost their hunger for the saddle. By the 14th century, the empire dissolved into fragments, each clinging to the ghost of Genghis Khan's dream. But even in its disappearance, the Mongols changed the world. They spread paper money, postal systems, and open trade across continents. They linked East and West for the first time in history. The empire may have vanished from maps, but its bones still shape our modern world. Because some conquests don't end, they evolve. Long before Buddhism arrived, the Mongols spoke to the unseen. Their world was alive. Every river, mountain, and gust of wind carried a spirit. To them, death was not an end, and silence was never empty. At the heart of this belief stood the shaman, the bridge between the living and the invisible. Dressed in robes of fur and iron, their drums echoed like thunder across the steppe. They entered trance through rhythm and breath, calling upon ancestors and nature itself for guidance. The people believed shamans could heal sickness, control weather, and even foresee death. But shamanism was more than ritual. It was survival psychology. In a land where nature kills without warning, people sought power not over it, but through it. The shaman's song became a voice of balance, a plea to the elements to show mercy. Even today, deep in the Mongolian countryside, families still leave offerings to mountain spirits before long journeys. They whisper ancient prayers into the wind, just as their ancestors did centuries ago. Because here, faith is not found in temples or books. It lives in the air, in the drumbeat, in the unseen world, always watching, always listening, high above the steppe, beyond the reach of mountains and clouds, lives Tengri, the eternal blue sky. To the Mongols, Tengri is not just a god. It is existence itself, silent, vast, and eternal. Unlike the faiths of stone temples and holy texts, Tengriism has no book, no priest, no sermon. The sky is both scripture and witness. Every sunrise is a blessing, every storm a warning. Life, death, and destiny all unfold beneath its watchful gaze. For Genghis Khan, Tengri was not a symbol. It was his source of power. He believed he ruled by the will of Tengri, that his victories were divine judgment. This faith united tribes who had warred for generations. Under one sky they found one destiny. But Tengriism was never about domination. It demanded balance between man and nature, between courage and humility. To betray that balance was to invite ruin. Even today, herders still raise their hands to the sky before a long ride. They still thank the wind for safe passage, because in Mongolia, faith doesn't live in words. It lives above them. And the eternal blue sky still watches, as it always has. There is a silence in Mongolia that few places on earth can match. But listen closely, and that silence begins to sing. Across the endless grasslands, the wind hums through the valleys, horses breathe against the cold, and the echoes of ancient songs drift through time. This is not emptiness. It is a living soundscape, the heartbeat of the steppe itself. For centuries, Mongolians have turned that natural music into art. It's called hume, or throat singing, a haunting technique where one voice produces two notes at once. The singer becomes the wind and the mountain at the same time, echoing nature's duality. The deep, vibrating tone represents the earth, while the high, whistle-like overtone mirrors the sky. Together, they form harmony, a perfect balance between man and nature. The sound of kuame isn't just performance, it's prayer, it's communication. In the vast openness of the steppe, words are useless against the roar of the wind, but a song can travel miles. Nomads once sang across valleys to guide herds, to call to family, or to thank the spirits after a storm. Each note carried emotion that language could never hold. And then there's the morin kur, the horsehead fiddle, Mongolia's most sacred instrument. Its two strings are said to represent male and female energy, bound in eternal unity. Legend says a lonely herdsman crafted the first one from the tail of his dead horse, so its spirit could ride forever through song. Even now, when its deep, sorrowful tone fills a jur, you can almost feel the gallop of unseen hooves in the distance. Every melody tells a story of loss, of love, of the brutal winters that take lives, and the summers that bring them back. The songs keep the past alive. They speak of the ancestors who roamed these same lands, of empires risen and buried under dust. Music, in Mongolia, is not escape. It's remembrance. It's identity. When a nomad sings, he's not performing. He's reminding the world that he exists, that his spirit refuses to vanish into silence. Even the quiet between songs holds meaning. It's the pause between breaths of the earth itself, because out here, silence isn't absence, it's respect. The truth is, Mongolia's music is more than sound. It's a dialogue between worlds, the human and the eternal, the visible and the unseen. And when the last note fades into the horizon, the land answers back, softly, endlessly, like it always has. In Mongolia, winter doesn't arrive quietly. It descends, fierce, unrelenting, and absolute. The winds sweep across the plains like invisible blades. The sky turns to steel. The air burns the lungs. Temperatures drop below 40-degree Koi, colder than the Arctic in some regions. In these months, the world seems frozen in time. Yet, against all odds, life continues. Children still ride ponies across the snow, their laughter echoing through the frozen silence. Herders wrap themselves in thick wool and ride out to find their animals, sometimes risking death to rescue a single calf from the storm. It's not heroism, it's survival. Because on the steppe, if you don't fight the winter, it swallows you whole. The Mongols have a word for these deadly winters: Zood. When snow and ice lock the land and animals die by the thousands. When hunger presses closer than the cold. In such times, communities come together, sharing what little they have, guided by an old belief: if your neighbor's herd starves, your soul starves too. For outsiders, it's hard to imagine calling such a place home. But to Mongolians, winter is more than suffering. It's a test, a sacred challenge that purifies the spirit. Those who endure emerge harder, wiser, closer to the land. Every frozen breath is proof of resilience. Fires inside the gyr glow like small suns against the darkness. Families huddle near the hearth, sharing bowls of salty milk tea and stories of ancestors who survived worse. The crackle of wood becomes a heartbeat of hope. Because here, warmth isn't just heat, it's heritage. Nature, in its cruelty, teaches a lesson. Power doesn't come from control, but from coexistence. You can't conquer a Mongolian winter. You can only respect it. The people know this balance instinctively. They don't curse the cold. They accept it as part of the eternal rhythm. Life, death, and renewal, written in frost and fire. And when spring finally returns, melting the white into rivers and grass, it feels like a rebirth. But those who survived never forget what winter taught them: that beauty and brutality are two sides of the same truth. The steppe shows no mercy, yet it gives everything to those who endure. Because in Mongolia, survival isn't just about staying alive. It's about standing tall when the whole world freezes around you. There are no written laws on the Mongolian steppe. No police, no courts, no contracts. Yet, for centuries, entire tribes have lived together in order and respect. Their rulebook? A code, unwritten, but unbreakable. It's called Yos, the way of the nomad. Passed quietly from parent to child, it governs every act, every decision, every breath. Its first commandment is simple: honor is life. To lose it is to lose everything. Among nomads, a person's word carries more weight than gold. A promise made over tea or beside a campfire is sacred. Breaking it doesn't just shame one man, it stains his entire bloodline. Betrayal is unforgivable, cowardice despised, and generosity expected. Because on the steppe, one selfish act could doom another to death. The code demands strength, not just of the body, but of the spirit. It tells men to ride into storms, to share what little they have, and to die with dignity rather than live in deceit. Women, too, are guided by this honor. Their wisdom, endurance, and loyalty often holding entire families together through famine and war. Even Genghis Khan built his empire on this same foundation. Before he was conqueror, he was a nomad bound by Yos. His greatest warriors followed him, not out of fear, but trust, the kind that can only exist where honor is absolute. This moral compass runs deeper than religion or law. It is survival refined into principle. When there are no walls, no boundaries, only the endless wind, your integrity becomes your shelter. You cannot hide from the world, or from yourself. Every gesture carries meaning. Offering a guest food before yourself, returning a lost animal to its owner without hesitation, protecting the weak without being asked. These aren't rules, they're instincts, carved by centuries of hardship. Even today, in modern cities like Ulaanbaatar, echoes of this code remain. Businessmen shake hands with the same solemnity as warriors once swore loyalty. Young Mongolians, though drawn to modern life, still hear the quiet voice of their ancestors. Be honest. Be brave. Stand tall in the storm. In a world obsessed with laws and loopholes, Mongolia's unwritten code might seem old-fashioned. But maybe that's why it still matters. It reminds us that morality doesn't need to be written to be real. Because out on the steppe, the only judge is the sky. And under the eternal blue sky, every action is seen and remembered. For centuries, outsiders have looked at Mongolia and seen only what they wanted to see. To some, it was a land of barbarians, fierce horsemen who burned cities to ash. To others, it was a place of mystics and monks, frozen in time. But both images are wrong. The truth is more complex, more human, and far more misunderstood. When early European travelers first wrote about the Mongols, they were terrified. They saw armies that moved faster than the wind, that conquered half the known world with impossible precision. To make sense of it, they called them monsters, savages without mercy or soul. That label stuck. For generations, Mongol became a word for destruction. Yet, few knew the reality. The Mongols built one of the most sophisticated networks on Earth, with postal systems, laws, religious tolerance, and international trade centuries ahead of their time. They didn't just conquer, they connected. Under Mongol rule, a merchant could travel from China to Europe without fear of robbery. Scholars shared knowledge across cultures that had never before met. The world became smaller because of Mongolia. But when the empire collapsed, so did its reputation. The victors rewrote history, painting the steppe as chaos, its people as relics of a brutal age. Even today, many still imagine Mongolia as endless emptiness, a forgotten corner of Asia. Yet those who visit discover something very different. A society where ancient traditions coexist with smartphones and skyscrapers, where a herdsman may pray to the sky in the morning and check his satellite weather app by afternoon. Modern Mongolia is not a museum of the past. It's a country still evolving, fiercely proud, fiercely independent, and still shaped by the wind. Its people remember the pain of being misunderstood, of being reduced to myth. That's why they guard their culture so fiercely now. Not out of isolation, but preservation. To understand Mongolia, you must look beyond the headlines and history books. You must stand on the steppe, feel the silence, and realize this is not emptiness. This is space. Space for spirit, for endurance, for truth. The world once feared Mongolia because it could not control it. Now, it ignores Mongolia because it cannot define it. But the steppe doesn't need validation. It never did. Because while empires wrote stories about power, Mongolia lived a story about freedom. And freedom, unlike empire, never dies. The Gobi Desert, vast, silent, and merciless. At first glance, it seems lifeless. Endless dunes of golden dust stretching to the horizon. But beneath its surface, something ancient stirs. Hidden under centuries of shifting sands lie the remains of forgotten cities, echoes of a time when this wasteland was once the beating heart of empires. Archaeologists call it one of Asia's last great mysteries. Somewhere beneath the dunes may rest the lost capitals of the Mongol Empire, the caravan hubs of the Silk Road, and the resting places of kings whose names history has erased. Bones, pottery, coins, all swallowed by the desert's shifting breath. Legends speak of Karakorum, the once glorious city built by Genghis Khan's son, Ogedei. It was said to shine with silver palaces and temples from every faith, a symbol of unity in a divided world. For a brief moment, it was the center of civilization. Then suddenly, silence. The empire fractured, the trade routes vanished, and the desert began its slow work of erasure. Within a few generations, the city was gone. Not destroyed, but consumed. Modern explorers using satellite imagery and ground-penetrating radar are beginning to uncover hints of what lies below. Long, straight lines, the remains of walls, buried foundations of temples, pathways where merchants once led camels laden with silk, jade, and spices. Each discovery rewrites what we thought we knew about this land. But the desert is a jealous guardian. Every step must be earned. Storms can bury an excavation site overnight. Artifacts vanish beneath new dunes as fast as they're uncovered. It's as if the Gobi itself doesn't want its secrets told. And then there are the darker legends. Whispers of a forbidden tomb. Some believe that Genghis Khan's final resting place lies somewhere in this vast wilderness, hidden deliberately so no invader could ever find it. According to myth, the soldiers who buried him were executed afterward to protect the secret. Others say the earth swallowed the site whole, that even the spirits of the steppe guard his grave. To this day, no one knows for certain where the great Khan sleeps, and maybe that's how it's meant to be. The Gobi teaches one truth: what disappears is not always lost. The sands erase, but they also preserve. Beneath every dune lies a story waiting to be reborn. Because in Mongolia, even silence has a history, and the wind carries the whispers of the dead. For centuries, the Mongolian steppe has moved to one rhythm, that of the horse, the wind and the fire inside every gear, yurt. But now that rhythm is breaking. The modern world is reaching even the farthest corners of the steppe, and Mongolia's nomads, once the masters of movement, are standing at a crossroads. Today, fewer families live entirely off the land. Satellite dishes rise beside felt tents. Solar panels charge phones in the middle of nowhere. Young nomads watch the world through glowing screens, dreaming not of horses, but of cities. It's a quiet revolution, not of swords or borders, but of choices. Every year, thousands leave the countryside for Ulaanbaatar, Mongolia's capital, a chaotic sprawl of concrete and smoke. They trade open skies for cramped apartments, freedom for stability. But the city offers no easy life. Many find themselves in the Gur districts, endless neighborhoods of tents, poverty, and cold. It's a new kind of nomadism, people moving not across land, but through survival. Yet, the spirit of the steppe refuses to die. There's a resurgence, small but real, of young Mongolians returning to their roots. They blend tradition with technology, herding animals using drones, tracking weather with apps, teaching ancient songs on TikTok. The old world is adapting. Climate change, however, threatens everything. Harsher winters, known as dazuds, kill millions of livestock. The grasslands are drying. Migration routes vanish. For the first time, nomadism itself faces extinction. And still, hope lingers. In the vast silence of the steppe, resilience is woven into the wind. The Mongols have survived empires, invasions, and centuries of isolation. Their culture was born from endurance, and perhaps that endurance will save them once again. Because in Mongolia, identity is not a flag or a border. It's a way of breathing, free, untamed, unbroken. And even as the world races forward, somewhere out there, under the eternal blue sky, a lone rider still moves with the wind, carrying the spirit of 1,000 years. Mongolia is a paradox. Ancient, yet awake. Vast, yet intimate. It's a place where silence has a voice, and where the sky itself feels alive. We began this journey searching for mysteries, the legends of Genghis Khan, the secrets of the steppe, the hidden truths beneath the sand. But what we found runs deeper than history. It's a lesson about humanity, about what it truly means to live free. Here, survival is not measured in wealth or comfort. It's measured in endurance, in the strength to stand against blizzards, hunger, and time itself. Every Mongolian, from the herdsman in the Gobi to the child riding through snow at dawn, carries the same invisible inheritance: resilience, a quiet power that refuses to die, no matter how harsh the world becomes. The rest of the world builds walls, chases speed, and calls it progress. Mongolia reminds us that progress can also mean stillness, that freedom doesn't need fences, and happiness doesn't require possession. Under the eternal blue sky, life moves slower, but with purpose. Every sunrise, every gallop, every song whispered to the wind is a prayer to live in balance. Empires have risen and fallen under this same sky. Borders have shifted, rulers forgotten. Yet the spirit of the nomad endures, unchanged, untamed, eternal. It survives not through conquest, but through connection, to the land, to the sky, to one another. And maybe that's the truth we've been missing all along. The steppe doesn't hide its wisdom. It simply waits for those willing to listen. As the sun sinks behind the mountains, the horizon burns gold one last time. A lone rider disappears into the wind, leaving nothing behind but hoofprints, soon to be erased by dust. But the story of Mongolia doesn't end there. It lives on in the silence, in the sky, in the endless rhythm of freedom that no empire, no storm, no age can destroy. Because beneath the eternal blue sky, the spirit of Mongolia still rides, and it always will.